Have you noticed that Christmas, generally, it seems to me, is a time for families to come together? Have you worked that out? Families come. And in fact, it seems to me they travel long distances, and some of them at great expenses, just so we can be together at Christmas. Which, of course, means that for some people, Christmas will be a sad time. A sad time because they can't be with their family for whatever reasons. They can't be with their family, and so we hope for those folk, their church friends or their neighbours will make up for that. But for many, family is central to Christmas. And in fact, the family gathering is the thing they look forward to the most. They love being together, they love cooking together, and they love reminiscing, and they love opening prezzies, and they love making new memories, and they just can't wait to be together as the family at Christmas. It's a joyous occasion. And then there's me. See, for some people, let's just be brutally honest. For some people, the thought of the family gathering together is an absolute nightmare. There's the noisy kids. They're the freeloaders on holiday by the sea. I'm nervous because I know we've got some visitors here and I don't want to insult anybody. But I don't know. Of course, we've got to be polite. We've got to be nice to each other. We're all pretending that we're friends with these people we never ever see. And of course, we all dread Uncle Bob. You know who Uncle Bob is? Everybody's family's got Uncle Bob, haven't they? If you're not sure who Uncle Bob is in your family, maybe we should talk after the service. And so the truth is, not everybody gets excited about family at Christmas time. But whatever your particular thoughts are, whatever your particular feelings are, whatever your ideas are, you can't get away from the fact that families are central at Christmas time. And I want to suggest to you that the reason for that is actually in the scriptures. I want to suggest to you that actually the reason that families are central here with us is because actually God puts family at the center of Christmas. Christmas is all about Him gathering His family. Just think about that for a moment, ponder that. Christmas is about God gathering His family. If you want to know where I got it from that passage. Keep it open in front of you. Let's have a look at those few verses, John 1, verse 10 through to 13. We're just going to look at under two headings this morning. The first one is I want us to look at the pain of rejection. The pain of rejection. You see, John has already expressed to us how the Word, that is God Himself, the Word who made all things, came into the world. That is, He who made the world entered the world. He who was eternal entered time. He who was creator became part of the creation. We learned last week that light came into darkness. And so far, it seems to us that would be a good thing. We'd be excited about that. We'd be enthusiastic for us. So it's quite shocking that when we get to verse 10 and 11, John seems to make two shocking announcements. Two comments that we probably weren't anticipating. The first is verse 10, the world did not recognize Him. Just think about that for a moment. God made the world. The world owes every fiber of its existence to Him and to His creative work. Without Him, they were absolutely nothing. Without Him, they would not be. And yet when He came into the world did not recognize Him. They didn't recognize Him. They didn't see Him to be the Word of God. They didn't see Him to be the creator of all things. Of course, because we're in a good mood and because it's Christmas, we might want to be giving them the benefit of the doubt. We might want to say something nice like, well, Shane, maybe it's because He didn't really look like the creator. You've got to throw a bone here, don't you? You've got to say, well, He didn't really look as if He was the sovereign creator of the world when He was born as a baby in a manger. He didn't look like He was the king of the world to whom they should answer. He didn't look from external perspectives as if He was their Lord and they are accountable to Him. And we understand that. We understand that looks can be deceiving. He didn't really look like He was all those things, so that's why they didn't see Him. That's nice, and it's kind of us to think like that. The only problem is John has already told us that that's not why. See, it's not because of Jesus' appearance. It's not because of the nature of his birth. It's not because he came born in a manger to Mary. No, it's because they were in darkness. See, they did not recognize him because they were not looking for him. They did not recognize him because they did not want to see him. They were in the darkness, John has already said. And in fact, we learned last week when Matt preached for us that they prefer the darkness to the light. And so although in John chapter 1, John grounds human moral responsibility in the doctrine of creation, in other words, because God is creator, we should respond a particular way, what we keep reading and we discover is that the world ignores the creator. They ignore the creator. They want nothing to do, and that's the pattern of humanity right from the start. They choose their own way instead. They exchange light for darkness. The truth is, Jesus could have come with a neon sign. He could have come with angels. He could have come with bright lights. I know he did, by the way. And yet they did not recognize him. They did not recognize him. They did not recognize him because they did not want to. Can I just share with you that that's some of the greatest challenges you will have with people when you try and talk about Jesus with them? Those who don't want to recognize him won't recognize him. If they're not looking, they won't see him. But it's worse than that. It's not just that the world generally did not recognize him. Keep reading, have a look at verse 11. John tells us a second thing, which is even more shocking. His own did not receive him. His own people did not. It's not just that the world out there, those wicked and evil people, it's not just that them who didn't receive him. No, his own family don't receive him. John reminds us that he came to those people who were expecting him. He came to the people who were actually looking for him and had spent centuries anticipating his arrival. He came to Israel. He came home. But his own did not receive him. Just imagine for a moment, if you can, imagine that you are desperately waiting for a long-lost relative to come. You've been emailing each other, you've been SMSing each other, you know where they are, you know they're on their way, and when they finally come and they knock on your door, can you imagine having waited all that time and when they finally arrive, you don't open the door? You have nothing to do with them. You carry on as if they don't exist. And that's exactly what happens. Jesus comes to his very own, to his people who've had prophecy and prophecy and prophecy and prophecy, one after the other about him, who have had Pharisees and Sadducees who have been watching out for the coming Messiah. And when he finally comes, when the angels declare that he has finally come, his own do not receive him. Of course, that shouldn't surprise us because the truth is the Old Testament reminds us over and over again that when the Messiah does eventually come, he will be rejected by the very people to whom he comes. One writer says, there can be no more poignant expression of human folly and perversity than Israel's rejection of Jesus. No more poignant expression of human folly and perversity than Israel's rejection of Christ. Despite all their waiting, when he came, they did not receive him. Can I just ask us to pause for a moment? Because I want you to just think about the next week. I want you to think about all the anticipation and preparation of what's going to happen over Christmas and this holiday period. And can I just raise a flag for you today? Can I just put out a warning for you that you realize that not everyone you speak to this week will recognize or receive Jesus. Not everyone you speak to will recognize or receive Jesus. You see, for us as a church, for us as Christian people, we think that is the most normal and most natural thing in the world, don't we? We think because we're Christians and we love Jesus and we want Jesus at the center of our Christmas, our assumption is that everybody else will be exactly the same. That everybody else will want Jesus at the center of their Christmas and at the center of their family gatherings. Well, I hate to break the news to you, but they won't. They won't. And so you need to prepare yourself for that not all of your family and friends will want Jesus at the center. Of course, some of them will be polite, but some might be hostile. As some might be vociferous even, as you think about Jesus this Christmas. And so just remember a few things. Remember, it's not you that they're rejecting. It's not you. They're rejecting Jesus, not you. And so the real pain of rejection is not yours, actually. It's not yours. No, the real pain is Christ's. And of course, it's worth remembering that the real loss is not yours. The real loss is theirs. Now, I'm saying that some of your family won't want you, but some of them might. And I hope in your instances, many of your family do. And if they do, be thankful. Rejoice. Keep Jesus at the center. But be prepared that some won't. And so be prepared for the pain of rejection this Christmas. Aren't you glad you came this morning? Well, come on, guys. Don't doom and gloom. It's Christmas time. And you've got to keep reading. You see, did you notice? Yet. Verse 12. See, yes, there is the pain of rejection, but there is also, secondly, the prize of relationship. See, while John warns of many who reject Jesus, he also speaks of a faithful remnant, a faithful few who received Jesus, yet to all who did receive him. It's not a completely lost cause. There will be some who recognize Jesus as the Word. There will be some who receive him. There will be some who respond with life-changing faith. They believed in his name. And of course, in the New Testament, to believe in his name is to believe in his character. It is to believe in his identity. It is to believe in his whole person. It is to recognize that this Jesus born in the manger is the Word in flesh, God in flesh, light in darkness. They believed. Now listen to these words. To them, he gave the right to become children of God. To become children of God. No? Does that smack you right between the eyes? We who were strangers and aliens, we who were far off, we who once wanted nothing to do with God, we who once wanted to be the Lone Ranger doing our own thing our own way, we who once had no identity, no status, no place, no position, to us who believe, he gives us the right to become children of God. It's not just, and it's important you work this out, it's not just that we become part of the covenant people of God. It's not that we become Israelites. That's not what's on offer here. We don't just join a covenant community. I mean, we do join a covenant community, but that's not what this is about. In that moment of faith, when we recognize and receive Jesus for who he is, at that moment, we are declared part of God's very own family. We become children of God. To be recognized as those who belong to God himself. I came to this school as a teenager. I know you'd never think that I've been out of school this long, but I have been out a long time. And I can still remember my very first day at this high school. I walked into one of the classes and one of the teachers said to me, "What is your name?" And I said, "My name is Giles, sir." Luke Giles, everyone was Giles. Here was his answer, "Oh God, not another Giles." See, I had an older brother whose legacy had gone ahead of me, whose reputation had gone ahead of me. I was identified as by family name. I wish I could go back to that teacher today, and if he said to me, "What is your name?" Do you know what I'd say to him today? I hope. I'd say, "Christian, sir. Christian. I'm a child of God. My family legacy is the family of God. That's my identity. That's my status. I'm included in his family. I am deeply known by the sovereign God of the world. I am deeply loved by a heavenly Father who knows everything about me. You see, it's John chapter 1 that reminds me, when I recognize Jesus, when I receive Jesus, because he came for me, that I become part of his family. It speaks to us in the most beautiful picture of adoption, of inclusion, of acceptance, but acceptance by God. This is way more than just status and rank and privilege in society. No, this is about belonging to the family of God, to being in relationship with him. Bruce Milne writes, he says, as Christians, we are nothing less than the personally valued, dearly loved children of God, irrespective of how others might see you, irrespective of how you might see yourself. See, so let me ask you that question today. If somebody had to ask you today, who are you? Because let's be honest, that's always the question, isn't it? Who are you? I mean, 3 questions I ask men every time. Who are you? What school did you go to? What car do you drive? See, as you think of who you are today, if you're a Christian, can I ask you, how high up in your thinking does being a child of God appear? I mean, if you had to define who you were, put your identity on a sheet of paper, where would being God's child fit? That you belong to the family of God. That when you put your faith in Jesus, he gives you the right, the privilege, the prize to be a child of God. Just ponder how radical John's statement is when he says this. See, we belong because we believe, not because of our biology. See, I'm not a child of God because I'm an Israelite, because I'm Jewish, because I'm circumcised. No, I'm a child of God because I believe in Jesus, the Son of God, who came to earth. I belong because of new birth, not human birth, not born of the flesh, not born of woman, no, born of the Spirit, born of God. I belong irrespective of my heritage, irrespective of my ethnicity, irrespective of my previous religious convictions. Do you know why? Because I am born again. I'm made new. I'm a child of God. Oh, I hope you'll go home today and you'll look in your mirror and you'll do a little twirl and you'll look at yourself and remind yourself that you, if you believe, that you are God's precious child. You're a child of God. You're the family of God. We belong not because of human desire, not because of human effort. No, we belong because God so loved us that he sent his Son into the world to die on a cross for us. We belong because Jesus came. See, it's belonging to that family that provides me status. It's belonging to that family that provides me security and safety and special relationship with God. I know you might not consider this good news, but I'm going to share it with you anyway. See, here's the thing. If you believe, and if I believe, then we're family. See, that's how the scriptures talk. That's how John understands it. That's how Jesus understands it. That if we love Jesus together, then we are family. Eternal family. Unchanging family. True family. I don't mean to be rude to your biological families at all, and I trust that you will have a great time with them. But I want to remind you today that your true family is not those who don't recognize Jesus. It's not those who don't receive him. It's certainly not those who reject him. No, our fundamental place of belonging is in the family of God. And the good news is you're going to spend eternity with me. Isn't that exciting? And I'm going to spend it with you. And you know why? Because we're family. And you know why we're family? Because God so loved the world that he sent his Son. And so as you go into this week, can I remind you one last time who you really are? Who you really are. See, if you're a believer here today, if you call yourself a Christian because you've trusted Jesus, then you're way more than that. You're a child of God. Irrespective of your past, this is your present. Irrespective of how others might see you, this is how God sees you. And so can I challenge you today, and can I challenge you this Christmas season, to be who you are, to unashamedly and boldly, without compromise, be children of God. Nothing your colleagues or your family say about Jesus, nothing they do to you this week can change who we are. So let's behave as the children of God. Let's be those who are led by the Spirit, Romans 8. Let's be those who are heirs of God and co-heirs with Christ Jesus. Let's be those who are blameless and pure, without fault in a warped and crooked generation, Philippians chapter 2. Let's be those who know they are loved by God, 1 John 3. And let's be those who know the best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. See, Christmas is a time for family. It is a time for family. And it is a time we should celebrate family and rejoice with family. But it is a time for us to remember our true family, the family of God. And so to remember who we are and to live as that family always.